if this is
Oh,
your first time listening about this, there is a drug that sometimes, although not always, that can be administered to you to save you after a lethal dose. So tell us
um,
more.
yeah, so its medical name is naloxone, but everybody calls it Narcan. And in Oklahoma, you can get it mailed to you for free. Other states, it's a little bit more difficult, but I know now also you can purchase it over the counter in any state, and also on Amazon, you can buy it. But it is a nasal spray. So a box has two nasal sprays in it, and there's only one spray in each nasal spray. So if someone is experiencing an opioid poisoning, fentanyl exposure, anything like that, which I always want to mention, if you're unsure what that would look like if someone was experiencing one of those opioid or fentanyl poisoning events, they get blue lips, they'll nod off, you won't be able to wake them up, their breathing will get very shallow, their fingernails can start turning blue. And what fentanyl does is it literally makes you stop breathing. That's pretty much what, to sum it up. So naloxone or Narcan, which it's the same, it's this little nose spray that they have that you can spray it into one nostril. And then we always say call 911 first. And then you spray it into one nostril. You do chest compressions for 3 minutes. And then if they do not sit up and wake up or start coming around, then you open the other package and you use the other nose spray once. Don't spray it in the air, because it only has a one shot in each nose spray. You spray it into the other nostril, and then you can continue compressions until emergency people show up. Don't leave your friends. If you don't have Narcan, call 911 and stay with them and do chest compressions. We don't tell people to do mouth to mouth because you don't know what that person has ingested. If it was fentanyl and it happens to come from their spit into your mouth, you could start overdosing. So that's why we just say chest compressions. And then when they do come around, lean them to their side if they're laying flat, which they should be if you're doing all of that correctly, because they can vomit. You don't want the vomit to get on you either, and you don't want them to choke on it. But a lot of times, once you've a person who's experiencing an opioid poisoning or fentanyl poisoning or episode, once you do that, they'll shoot right up. And it's like they'll be laying there, you'll give them that, and they'll sit right up. They're immediately brought out of that high. It blocks the receptors in their brain from
Amazing.
the opioid getting into it. So it's like bringing them from a high to like out of their high immediately. And they can be angry, that's not a fun feeling. But definitely, they say majority of the deaths, people have had people with them and they haven't called and gotten them help, or they've left them because they're afraid of getting in trouble. And tell you what, you're going to get in a lot more trouble if you leave that person than if you stay there and try to get that person help. So always stay with your friends. There's been instances where kids have recorded it and put it on Snapchat or social media, watching this person dying, and they have no idea. They think it's funny because they don't know. They'll also sometimes make this loud snoring noise, which is usually their last breath. But, kids don't know. So adults don't know that either. So we really try to get that information out there. And let me just say, Narcan cannot hurt somebody. It can only save somebody's life. This nose spray we're talking about, if you spray it in somebody, let's say you're not sure if they're experiencing an opioid overdose, poisoning, whatever. I call it poisoning because a lot of people don't even know they've taken something that has fentanyl in it. But if you use it, and let's say they're not experiencing an opioid crisis at the time or a fentanyl exposure, it's like spraying water up their nose. You won't hurt them. So essentially, you can only help them. And then I also mentioned to people, don't think you can Narcan yourself, because it usually doesn't work that way. Once you've taken a drug that has fentanyl in it or an opioid in it, mostly the fentanyl, you will not have time. In Oklahoma, there's been several cases where the person is found deceased laying on top of Narcan. So they thought they could shoot up, snort, ingest this drug And if it were to happen to them, they'd have time to save themselves. But that's not how it works. So don't think that, because I don't want people to be misled.